Un, dos, y un, dos, tres, y...
Hi, everyone.
There,
Welcome back to our next live feed. As you can see, there's Sue Ann and I. We are here to do some announcements first and foremost, and then we will, let's see, how am I going to do this? I'm going to step back and go, which way?
Wait, there you go.
That way. All right. So first announcements. We have a lot of announcements. The RTR is coming up. They're mostly about the RTR. So Sue Ann, who is the executive director of Homes on Wheels Alliance, will bring you announcements.
Very good. Well, one of the things that are going to be at the RTR is Bob's van that's on sweepstakes. And so if you're at the RTR, you're going to get a firsthand look at that van. Or if you want to purchase tickets now for the sweepstakes, you can go to howa.rallyup.com. That's HOWA.rallyup.com. And we'll also have a very cool Bluetti power station with an external battery that makes it last a long time. Very powerful with a solar panel. And a Acco Power Lion cooler with an internal battery and a solar panel. So those three sweepstakes items will be at the RTRs. So the RTRs is in Quartzite in about 10 days. Believe it or not, it's getting very close. It's January 14th and 15th for the women's RTR, January 16th through the 23rd for the big regular RTR, and then January 24th through the 26th for the online RTR. So we're going to have a couple of announcements, updates about the RTRs, and I'm going to start. Bob, do you want to talk about how you are going to stay safe at the RTR?
Right. Let's talk about COVID. I mean, we can't have a big gathering without talking about COVID. So we are the county, La Paz County, will be in La Paz County. Does is have no has or and the state of Arizona has no mask requirements. So there will be no mask requirements. It's completely up to you. We strongly encourage everyone to follow CDC guidelines, and CDC guidelines encourage mask wearing. We're going to be outdoors, and so again, we encourage you to wear masks, but it's your decision. We're not telling you what to do. I'm not planning on wearing a mask. However, I do really like the 6 foot distance. And there are going to be a lot of people there, and a lot of you are going to want to meet me. And it's my goal to meet as many of you as I can. I don't understand the desire to meet an old fart in the desert, but if that's a desire you have, I would like to help you to accomplish that. But and I'm not going to wear a mask because we're outside, and I'm not sure that it's really necessary outside. But the 6 foot distance is pretty important to me. I don't want to get to the very end of COVID and then get sick and die from it. So I am asking that we maintain a distance. I'm not going to hug people. I'm not going to shake your hands. And I would like to maintain distance around me. So I want to meet you. I want to look you in the eye and get to know you a little bit, not a whole lot. I don't, not your whole life story. But you, I want to meet you, just safely. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to ask you to maintain a distance. I don't know that 6 feet, it has to be 6 feet, but it has to be a fairly safe distance. No hugs, no kisses, no shaking hands, just a reasonable distance. Okay, I think that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. The other thing that I told you all that I would give you an update on when we got closer, and that is food vendors. We are not going to have food vendors. But we are going to have 12 noon discussions or sessions. So please pack that picnic lunch, bring a blanket or your chair, and have lunch while you listen to the speakers at noon out on the grass of the ball field.
You're not going to be all that far from your vehicle.
No.
Mostly you're going to be close. There's a large parking lot. As it gets fuller, you may have to be a little further away, but it's not an unreasonable distance. So you can get to your vehicle, you can get your things.
Okay, with that, we have a need for volunteers, and we have a guest that you want to call up.
Right. We're going to have Eric come up. Thank you so much, Sue-Ann.
Thank you, everybody.
We're going to talk to Eric, who is the head of the security and the parking lot and parking control. Let's see. Eric is tall. I'm short, and Sue-Ann's even shorter. So now we're going to adjust a little bit. Get Eric in. Work. I'll have to get a little closer. Okay. There we go. So Eric, thank you so much for volunteering to head up the security. The city of Quartzite requires 24-hour security. So this was not our idea, although we agree with it completely, but it's not something that's optional. What's your background in security?
I am a retired security consultant, and I'm also a former Army Ranger.
So we're in good hands. But we all want to be safe. We want our stuff at the RTR to be safe. So it's really important. You need some help, though.
Yes, we do, Bob. We really need some help in traffic. I know that every time Howell has come to the community to ask for help, they've rallied around and helped us. So if you could go to the email for the volunteer and jump out there and give us some hands. We really need it, especially in the morning. And we'd love to have you come out and be a part of the RTR volunteering with us.
You know, it's not a big volunteering job that you think, oh, I'm so great because I'm doing this, but it's just absolutely essential.
Yes.
And so we need your help. We definitely have to control traffic. The police will be watching us, the city of Quartzite. We want to make them really happy. We can do this again next year. And so controlling traffic, and there won't be any problems, but just, you know, that we do a good job with security and traffic is really important. So we need your help. Come out and help us. And you can see on your screen there what you do to who you contact to volunteer. It's 2022. I forget what it is because it's gone. RTRS@gmail.com. So contact us there and we'll put you to work. It'll be really vital work. Thank you.
Traffic control is very good, very helpful to get everybody in and out of the RTR, organized parking and things like that. So yeah, we could very much use your help.
Right. Thank you, Eric, for your volunteering. I know you're putting a lot of time into this.
Thank you.
So thank you. Next up, I'm going to have my friend Al come up, and we have a big announcement about my website, cheaprvliving.com, and the forum. Al, welcome to the channel.
Okay, hi.
Al is, as you may have noticed, that I started the Cheap RV Living website in 2005. So it's been there a long, long time. But when I started on YouTube, I couldn't do both, so I just let it languish and die. And I hated doing that because it's such a good tool, but I just didn't have the time until I found Al. And Al is the guy who can take the channel and the website, not the channel, can take the website and really make it good, make something really useful, much better than I did. I think I did a good job, but I believe Al's already done and will continue to do a fantastic job. So Al, tell us about what's coming up in cheaprvliving.com.
Do you want to go over the forum that you've heard?
Yeah, let me quickly go over that. I sold the forum, and it's all a purely technical reason. The forum is built on really old, I think antiquated. It was antiquated when we went to it, but it's even more antiquated. I started the forum in 2011, so it's 10 years old, and it's on a platform called MyBB. And it was old then and an antique, and it's even worse now. So they both, the cheaprvliving.com and the forums, are based on PHP. That's right, PHP?
I don't know the technical end.
PHP, yeah, I don't know the technical end either. I've hired someone who's doing all this, who knows the technical end, because I don't know anything. It's built on something called PHP, which is a programming language that I know nothing about. And you have to, like all programming languages, there's constant updates. And so there was 1, there was 2, 3, 4, 5, and I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know anything about it. But let's say, just picking numbers out of the air, we're at number 4, and the latest one out now is 7. It's that severe. And the problem is that the forum, because it's a piece of crap software, if we try to update the PHP, it crashes. And if you've been on the forum, it crashes all the time. So we can't update it. But we cannot rebuild the website until we are up to date on PHP. We're not going to build a website on a couple-year-old version of PHP. That's just not going to happen. Can't happen. All the new software, the new theme, it's WordPress. WordPress requires that the themes require it, the plugins are all looking for the latest version of PHP, and we've got to give it to them. So we couldn't update because of the forum. I didn't know what to do with the forum, so I sold it to a company, and it looks to me like they're doing a fantastic job. So the forum has been sold, but still going. What's the name of it? Van Lives?
Vanliving.com.
It's cheapvanliving.com, but what's the name of the forum?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it says Van Lives Forum on top. No? Okay, I don't know. So it's still going and going really well. It's actually, I think they've done a very, very good job. They're running one ad across one side, and that's the only difference you're going to tell. It's the same moderators. We're still, they let us continue. It will be us, Cheap RV Living, except they will own it. They'll maintain it. There's a problem, they'll fix it, probably better and faster than I ever did. And so that's good. Oh my goodness, that took a long time.
So that's been holding up.
And Al's taking over the website. So tell us about the new website.
What we want to do with the website is, take it from where it was everything Bob knew,
which was not much,
to everything the community knows. Besides revamping it, making it more attractive, making it easy to use, more feature laden, we want to make it about more people, about what they know, about their experiences, tips, information. And we especially want to get involved people from other parts of the country rather than people like us who just hang out in the West. I know there's a lot of people in the East, and the Northeast, and Great Lakes, and the South that all like, yeah, but yeah,
If you're from Texas, we'll even let you in.
Yes, even Texans, who, they know everything, so they'll be a big help.
That'd be a big help.
And so that's my goal, is to make this more inclusive, more informative, and a broader sense of what's going on out there. And that means I can't write that all. Bob can't write that all.
No.
So we were hoping some of you are interested in writing. We're looking for submissions on anything to do with this life that we all live, whether it's technical stuff, things about locations, geography, law enforcement, health, finances, anything. And we'll pay a little bit. What do you think the rate is now?
Well, let's talk about that.
We'll talk about the rate, but we'll pay a little bit.
We'll pay a little bit.
A per word kind of thing.
And if you have a blog or a website and you're a nomad, I think this is only for nomads. People write me all the time and they want to just write something and I never take it. You have to be an actual nomad. I don't know. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Unless you're like, say, someone from the BLM wants to write something or something
Absolutely.
like that, something related.
Right.
And so there's the where you send your ideas. You might send a proposal first. Say, here's a subject I want to write about. Here are a couple of things I want to say, and then I'll get back to you with like, yeah, it's a good idea, or no, And then we'll go through the process with you if we decide to use what you want to write. But I think that'll make the whole site a lot more interesting and fun.
Right. And it won't be so much work for us.
No,
That's part of all.
Because we're old retired folks,
Yeah.
we don't want to work.
Yeah, right. I can assure you that's true.
Yeah, and I'd like to see people, younger people that get into this, more people like RVers, since we've sort of been van life people ourselves. So RVers, tent campers, whatever. Contact me and we'll talk about what you might contribute.
Right. We're also wanting to, so you'll be the writers. We'll do some. We've got a lot of articles written, ready to go. So as soon as the webmaster is getting it ready to go, it should be brand new, hopefully this week or next.
Yeah, we should. It should go live, brand new, real soon.
Real soon. And so we have a lot of articles ready to go. It's going to be an active going website, so there'll be constant new stuff. But we want you involved as well. That's really important to us.
Oh, and one change we've made is all the articles from the past and new articles as they kind of have been there a month or two or whatever. They're all going to what we call the knowledge base. And so it'll be an easily researched, it's pre-categorized, and you can go find old articles or information about that you're looking for there to make it easier.
Right. There's so much information there. It's just really difficult to find right now. That was the worst thing about the old website is the search function was horrible beyond words. And this has solved all that. In fact, I told the webmaster what I want above all else is things to be, I want it to look nice for what first, but I want things to be easily found and using something called knowledge base, that will be true. Another thing we're hoping to do is announce events in community wide. Is that ready to go?
Right. We have an events calendar that you can submit your own events to. If you want to, have a meetup in Oklahoma, or you're gonna, take some people to Baja or whatever, we can put it in there and they'll get the word spread.
Right. The goal is that it won't be Bob centered because that's, this is the movement's so much bigger than one person. And it's not going to be Hawa centered. It's going to be nomad community centered. That's the whole goal. That's why we want you to write. We want you to write in and give us your events so that we can have one central point that everyone comes to and says, oh, there's an event right over near me. I'd like to go there. And so that's really, really important to us that we have that. So look for that coming up. And I have more ideas, but we're starting where we are with that. That'll be really, really good.
And also, you may not consider yourself a great writer, but I think the information is more important than your literary ability. And we can, fix it up a little bit if necessary, but don't feel intimidated about, I'm not a writer,
I'll tell you what, in 2005, when I started the website and started it, I wasn't a very good writer at all. In fact, I look back at some of the stuff I wrote then. You get better, but you only get better with practice. And you might be a fantastic writer but it's hiding and you don't know. So, and you won't know until you write that first thing. And then you say, yeah, this wasn't all that good, but it's a start. And then by your 10th thing, your 100th thing, your 1,000th thing, you might be a fantastic writer. You might have found the career calling that the universe had for you all along. So be open. Okay, I think that's it. It's going to be really, really good. We've put the time and the effort into it. We want this to be a tool for the community to make all of us our lives better. That's the whole goal. Bring us together as one people, and that's the goal. Not Bob centered, not Howa centered, not CRVL centered, Nomad life centered. So thank you so much. Thank you, Al. I really appreciate it. Okay, now we're going to jump to our today's topic, which is there any time left at 20 minutes? My goodness. Now we're going to jump back over to the topic of the day. My friend Brian's going to join me, and we're going to talk about camping in the desert. A lot of you are coming to the desert for your very first times. You have no idea what to expect. We want to ask your questions. So if you have any questions about how to camp in the desert, what's it like? What should you bring? Where should you go? What in the world's going on? Rattlesnakes and just on, and heat and floods and all the things you're scared about. We want to reassure you that it's going to be good and you're going to be glad you came. So get your questions out, and we will do that now. Brian will join me, and we'll have a little transition here. There, that should be it.
Can you hear us okay, Casey?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Let's see. Oh, sorry, folks. This was an unusual event. Casey, I got a white bar across the top. Is that showing up?
Nope, looks good.
Are our heads cut off?
Yeah, you'll need to raise the camera up a little bit and towards Brian also a little bit. Great. Yeah, that's
we got it. Okay, so we should be set now, and we'll go to question. Brian, did you have any opening comments you wanted to make about camping in the desert?
I mean, it is, we've both been coming down here for years, and, one of the big things is that it's just different than the forest. We're so used to being in certain areas during the summer where it's more forested or whatnot. So it's a different kind of camping, but it's something that I've really fallen in love with. I didn't think I would like the desert when I first came down here because I'm a very much forest mountains guy. But I've always been super impressed with the beautiful sunsets and well, I've heard about sunrises. I haven't seen them. But yeah, so, but yeah, it's a beautiful area and there's so much to gain from camping here. But there are some things that we have to be, cognizant of and be aware of, like the cold. Like we've recently experienced a lot of cold here. Got down to, I think, 26 the other day.
Last night, my thermometer said 29 last night.
Yeah. So you got to be prepared for those kind of things. Bring warm clothes, layers, lots of blankets. A lot of us have little buddy heaters, but you don't want to run those all night because they're dangerous with the carbon monoxide. So you just want to be prepared for those kind of things.
Okay, so yeah, I would agree. I love the desert, and I know a lot of you will write and say, "Oh, I hate the desert. I don't want to go there." I think if you give it a fair chance, it will grow on you. I think the bigness of it, you can see so far here, and I do. And when you say the desert, that you think of one thing, and yet it's has a great variety of landscapes even within the desert.
It does, and it also has a lot. It's vibrant. There's still greenness out here.
Yeah.
It's it's a little more muted, but it can still be quite beautiful, and especially during the wildflower blooms and things like that.
Oh,
The desert is stunning. So
Yes.
highly recommend.
Right. So there's a lot to learn about it, but I think it's really beautiful. Here's the way it works for me. Every fall, I am excited to get back to the desert. I mean, no question about it. I'm hard to believe, but I'm tired of the mountains and I'm tired of the forest, and I want to be back in the desert.
Agreed.
And every spring, I'm sick of the desert and I want to be back in my beloved mountains. So why not have them both? And I think if you give it half a chance, you'll end up thinking quite a bit like that. And besides, it's a whole lot warmer here than in the mountains. A lot of you are being clobbered by snow right now, all over the country. It's January 3rd, 2022. And so, yeah, it got down to 29 last night, but we're sitting in the sun and it's probably 50 or 55, 60.
I think in the 60s, yeah.
Probably 60s.
And it's supposed to warm up this week, so it's supposed to be a low of like 45 for the rest of the week,
Right.
and a high of like 71, 69, something like that. So quite warm and very pleasant. So I think this is the last cold. Hopefully.
A few cold stretches. They're a whole lot better than what most of you are going through,
Yes.
and we'll go through. Okay, so let's answer some questions. This is a really long, involved question. Bannigan Jen, what kind of insulation is best for year-round living and being in Arizona in the right winter? You're in an RV. Have you added any extra insulation?
No, just the little covers for the vents above. But no, not really. I mean, all my stuff insulates it. All the clothes in the cupboards and things
Right.
like that will do a sort of insulation. But no, I didn't add a whole lot. I also avoid the cold, so I'm not in snowy weather. I'm not a four-season camper. I definitely go with the weather, and that's my nomadic tendencies. So I try to avoid the cold. Like you said, the small things of cold that's easy to get by because you're like, all right, you just hunker down for a couple days. But I don't think it's. Yeah, I didn't add any insulation. Sorry, that was a really long answer.
Insulation is one that is a whole show in itself, so it really can't tackle it. As a broad rule, if you have a van, I just recommend you insulate with styrofoam, particularly polyisocarnate, polyiso. That's my recommendation for nearly all vans. I think polyiso is the way to go for both heat and cool. And almost always the polyiso comes with a silver side. And if you leave an air gap, you can put that, if you're going to be in the heat, you'd want to put that towards the roof, the walls, as long as there's an air gap. And then it will keep some of that heat out during the summer. Okay. Wayfarer T, can you talk about the different gas heaters and do you have a preference? You just mentioned, do you use anything else besides your RV heater?
Occasionally, I'll use my furnace in my motorhome, but it's not very often. It blows through the propane in the battery, and so it's not the best in that regard. But oftentimes, I have a little buddy heater. But honestly, I bring it out 1 or 2 times a year. Otherwise, I just put a jacket on, a scarf, a hat, and I'm quite fine.
Yeah, I do the same. I'm not a fan of the buddy heater. I never have been, and they seem to break a lot. I don't know why. They have to have the filter on them, and they don't seem very reliable to me. So I've never used steadily. I've owned a bunch of them. I've used them a bit, but I've never gone back to them. Here are your choices. The Mr. Buddy heater, which I personally don't like and don't use. A lot of people do. Love them. And so maybe that works perfect for you. The other choice is an Olympian catalytic. I love the Olympian catalytic. I lived for 6 years in Anchorage, Alaska, in a van, and I had 2 or 3 of them going. And when it was normal winter day in Anchorage in the 20s, I had one of the small ones going. I was well insulated. And when it got down to around 0, I had a little one and a going on low, and a big one going on low. And then when it got down to 30 below, and it literally got to 30 below numerous times, I'd have them both on high, and I would barely stay warm.
Is that the wave heater?
Yes, the wave.
Okay, I've heard amazing things about the wave.
Great heaters.
That it sips the propane.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't believe it has an open flame, so it's less likely to catch fire, right?
No, it's true catalytic.
Okay.
It is. No, if you put something, I can vouch for this. With either heater, any heater, if you put a cloth on it, it will burn.
Okay. Good to know. Don't do that.
Don't do that. It's tolerances, clearance to the side, the front, the top of the heater is critically important. Life and death important.
Okay.
You must maintain tolerance.
Or dogtails.
Well, yeah. Well, hopefully they're going to move before they burn. But
yeah, hopefully.
One time I came home from the gym and I put a towel above the heater to dry, and I didn't notice it. It fell and it caught on fire. It dried it out and then caught on fire. So yeah, it's really important.
Carry an extinguisher.
Always carry an extinguisher. Have a carbon monoxide detector if you're using any indoor, you're burning any fuel indoors. Always have a carbon monoxide detector.
Absolutely. Mine has gone off several times using the little buddy for sure, because I used it for too long and I used it for like 3 hours because it was freezing, and it beeped. I was like, oh, time to turn it off.
Right.
So be aware of that.
So your choices are Little Buddy, Olympian, and Diesel. Either high expensive $1,000 and up diesel heaters, or the cheap Chinese. And I've heard people who love them, just love the things, say they're great. They vent. That solves one of the biggest problems with any fuel burning heater inside the rig is you get a lot of condensation.
Mm-hmm.
Condensation is a terrible problem with either the Olympian or the Buddy. No problem with the Chinese diesel because they're vented. So, but they break. If I were going to buy a Chinese diesel, they're about $150. I'd buy 2 of them. I'd always have spare parts. That's literally what I would do. So those are kind of your choices. We'll move on. Amanda Z, along those lines, is gas really unsafe? What is the most likely failure of gas stoves that might cause a fire, like the Little Buddy or the Wave 6? Well, I'll just answer that real quick because we already did. Again, carbon monoxide, if they're not burning right, they'll kill you. If you get something too close to either one of them, they will catch on fire and they will kill you. And so, yeah, the safety is a critical issue. Clearances and ventilation. That's the real key thing. And it can't go out. If it goes out with the fuel open, that'll kill you. So yeah, it's a serious thing to put an open flame inside your rig. Very serious. Philanthropy IXE. Do you recommend 12-volt blankets? Have you used a 12-volt blanket?
I haven't. I've heard of other people using them. There's a very little draw, and it sounds quite nice. And I've heard people put them underneath, so it kind of radiates up. Then I've also heard people put them on top. So you could go either way. Have you used one?
I have. In fact, I just bought a bunch. What was it? December 1st. I bought 3 12-volt blankets and a 110-volt blanket. And I drove to Flagstaff just to be where it was cold, and it succeeded. It was cold. And so I wanted to test them. And they work. They work really well. I don't recommend the 110 because it's drawing 10 amps. You got to have a big system to allow yourself to give up 10 amps an hour to the 110 blanket, although it put out a phenomenal amount of heat. So yeah, they're fantastic. They're fantastic. The 3 12-volts all put out plenty of heat. What you have to understand is you lay them over you and then you put a blanket over that. You have to have a blanket over that or you'll just lose all the heat. But as long as you put a blanket over the top of them and they're next to you and a blanket on top of them, they worked really, really well. They kept me really warm. And I was in the 20s. I'd gone up there because it was in the 20s and I wanted, if I'm going to deal with cold, I want to experience cold. Worked really well. And I don't know if that video's come out. It'll come out really soon if it hasn't come out already. What I found was the most draw was 5 amps. I think 54 watts, slightly more than between 4.5 amps. And that's a fairly high draw. I'm getting into the sun. That's a fairly high draw. If you can afford 4.5 amps, then you're good. Mainly, I just use it in the evening. I have plenty of blankets. I'm going to sleep warm once I go to bed. But what you have to, if it gets dark in the winter by 5,
it does,
and you're not going to bed, most of us aren't going to sleep before 10 or 11. And I usually don't sleep before midnight. So that gives you from 5 to 10, 11, 12 in the dark and the cold. So that's how I would use it. I would put the blanket, the 12-volt electric blanket on me, put a blanket over the top of it, and it kept me very comfortable. And I was really pleased with it. I do recommend them. The lowest draw was about 3.5 amps. And so you have to be able to afford to give up, say, 4 amps as a minimum for 5 hours. That's 20 amps. Can you give up 20 amps to a battery, to the 12-volt batteries every night? And that just depends on the size. You have 200 watts in the winter, it'll be close. I think if you have 300 or 400 watts of solar, you're probably going to be okay. Okay, we'll move on.
I'll just add one other thing to that. If you don't have the power to supply yourself with that kind of energy, you can. What I personally do, because I do not have a blanket like that, I have a comforter that I have over me, and then I put my down sleeping bag that I use for backpacking over top of that. So I'm doubling up on that. The down blanket, because it needs to fluff in order to insulate, put that on the top layer. And I've stayed warm down to 35, 32 degrees in mine without any kind of heat source or blanket or anything like that. So as long as, again, you kind of layer things in a smart way. And sometimes I'll wear like a polypropylene layer on top and, ski socks or something like that, just to keep your toes warm. You can definitely get away with not having that. So again, just kind of layer and just be prepared for that cold.
Right, I agree completely. Yeah, you just need to be prepared. And actually, what I use for heat is my if it's really cold and I don't like sitting around in the cold. That doesn't appeal to me at all.
No.
And so I'll usually turn my stove on. I have my propane single burner Coleman stove, and I'll run that for a couple hours at a time. And you know what you can do is you can boil some water and put it in a hot water bottle, or put it in your algae, and then just set that on beside you. Or hot water bottles are best because they're big and flat, and they almost always come with a cover, so you're not putting something hot directly on your skin. And so hot water bottles are really, really a good idea.
We're planning to make a stew that day, so that you're using it anyway.
Right.
It's double effort, double the reward, I guess.
Right. So when the sun goes down, you cook a meal, and then that'll heat it up, and then the middle of the evening, make some hot chocolate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make some tea, coffee, whatever you drink, decaf. Philly Girl 76 has a hard question. I'm interested in keeping warm in a car. Seems like most things are too hot for a car. Yeah, any thoughts on that?
Again, a down sleeping bag is really going to do wonders for that. Dressing appropriately, again, long socks, long underwear, beanie. Because again, as we learned as kids, you want to keep your feet and your head warm. That retains a lot of your heat. But then also putting a base layer on, maybe even to down one of like the small puffy jackets you can get pretty cheaply these days, and then a sleeping bag over that. That to me would probably keep you pretty warm. And again, insulation underneath you is going to be key. If it's an air mattress, you're going to want to put a blanket over that so you don't leach out all that heat from you. Or if you have a foam pad, even better, because that's going to insulate you from underneath.
Right, insulation underneath is really, really important. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a matter of layers. Is true. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons what specifically I was doing all this testing for was what do you do in a car, because the heater's not practical. You can't get the clearances around it, and that's so important that you have clearances. You just can't get them. So that was one of the reasons I did the electric blanket. But then, again, where are you going to get the electricity from? I think the electric blanket is really a good solution for a car, but you got to have that solar. Okay. Angel Adventures, what's the best and most cost-effective way to heat your van? I think we've answered that. Clothing, the extra clothing, good clothing.
Good scarf.
Yeah.
Wool blankets.
Wool blankets.
Down.
Layering, a lot of layering. Yeah. Layering is really the key to cold at all times.
For sure.
Boy, we got a lot of questions about this. Aphrodite Rose Starfire. How worried do you have to be about carbon monoxide when using a diesel heater? Thanks.
I don't think you do have to worry about it because it's all exhausted outside, right?
Right. Unless it's broken, there's no worries.
Yeah.
The worries is it, did you install it right? Did somebody install it right? Is it broken? And if it breaks, then yeah, it can still kill you. So I think you should always be concerned about it, even if you think it's fail safe. Have your carbon monoxide detector, check it, make sure that it's working right, but mainly have a carbon monoxide detector at all the time, have a fire extinguisher at all times. But yeah, if you install it right, there should be no worries. It should never be a problem.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, Maximilian, have you seen the terracotta pot heaters? Do those really work? Thoughts?
I haven't seen those, no. Have you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Have you used them?
No, I never have tried them. Actually, that's one of the things I just did. I was going to try pot heaters. I didn't stay in in Flagstaff long enough. I ran out of time to test everything. What I did to try, and actually I just bought a 2-pound thing of Crisco. And they say Crisco makes the best, longest running heaters. You're going to find out.
As a fuel.
As a fuel.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
It's fat.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, like whale oil.
Yeah, it's like whale oil, right? Except it's Crisco.
Yeah.
It's vegetable oil of some kind. I don't know what. Yeah, you can make your own. You just I'm going to show you. I'm going to make a video about it. I haven't done it yet, so I can't give you a really good solid answer. But I think the Crisco heaters might be the way to go. And yes, it just makes sense to have first. All heat's going to rise right to the roof and not do you any good, and that's why you put something over the top of it and something dense so it holds the heat and radiates. And that's the whole idea behind the terracotta heaters with candles. I think the Crisco might be a really good answer for that. I think it's cheap. I think I paid $5. I got a 2 pound. Mine was only 2 pounds.
Yeah.
And so it was a big bottle. It was a big can. And I think these things will run for days, not hours, days and days and days. I think they'll put out a lot of.
And you can bake with it.
You can eat it in an emergency. You can eat it.
There we go.
What else can you
Everything
ask?
in your van has to have a multi-purpose.
Right.
That just runs right in there.
So I'm really looking forward to testing the Crisco. What I did test was chafing dish heaters. If you've ever been to a restaurant at a buffet, they'll have the buffets out, and underneath them they'll have a little chafing dish. Well, they come in all kinds of ones. One's a Sternal. A lot of people use Sternal. These weren't Sternal. These were a liquid fuel. And the can would last 6 hours. I bought a dozen of them from Amazon. I think I paid $24. I think $18, $20, something like that, for the dozen of them. I shot a video of it. It'll be coming out sometime. And so I did. My van is so big. I didn't think it would do any good in my ambulance. I put them in the cab of the pickup, and it was 20 degrees outside. And after 4 hours, I turned on 2 of them. And after 4 hours, the outside temperature had dropped to 20, and the inside temperature had gone up to 52.
Oh, that's comfortable then.
It is.
Yeah, with the jacket or something. That's nice.
It is. Yeah, that would be perfectly bearable. I mean, you're not hot, but
No.
you're not. It's not 20 either.
No.
32 degrees was astonishing, and I used 2 of these, and so I think they might work. And they're kind of expensive. I think I bought a 12-pack. They run 6 hours each, so you could get 2 days worth out of the 2 of them. I think what does that work out to be? It's less than $2 each, I think.
Yeah, how about that?
And so can you afford $2 a day for heat? That's going to be the question.
Yeah, a little pricey.
It is a little pricey.
But again, if you're in the desert, you might only have to use it, 5 or 6 times that whole winter.
Right.
If you're in a cold area, cold climate, that's going to be a much different story.
Right.
So probably not good for a long term, but if you're just looking for like a couple of those days that it can just, get you by, that might work really well.
Yeah, I thought that worked really well, and I'm looking forward to trying the Crisco because I think that will bring the price down a lot. In fact, I think I mentioned it to you. I was going to go up to Flag to do more testing so I could do this testing for you. It's getting to be late in the year, but if I don't get it done in time, I'll publish it next year. We're going to have to scoot over on in the shade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think I can't see this. I can't see the camera, but I'm pretty sure half in the shade. It's not bad.
Much better.
Okay.
You guys get to see a different scenery now.
Yeah.
Much better.
Come on. Oh, he'll never jump up on me. I don't know. You see him, you can't see me. All right. Come on. There you go. Can you see him now? There he is.
Cody.
Cody's still here. He's still my wonderful furry friend. Turtle entropy. Are a lot of the parks and campgrounds closed in winter in Arizona, or do you stay open? Or do they stay open? I'll ask you answer that.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Campgrounds. Campgrounds and parks, are they open in winter?
Up in the forest, no, they're not. Like where I campground hosts in the summertime, they will not be open during the winter. Some RV parks, maybe if they have full hookups, if it's in a ski area, they might cater to that. But down here in the desert, yeah, they're definitely open. So
It doesn't.
yeah, so for sure they're down here. So I think Tuttle Creek and Lone Pine would probably be open. Yeah, that'd be open during the winter for sure. So
yeah.
Although
the problem is that the pipe's freezing. That's what
you may not have fresh water there.
Right. You may not get water.
That's true.
I would. That'd be tough in the really cold areas. No, in fact, I just shot a video. I think it's already come out with Dee, a long time friend of mine. Dee, she is actually in an RV park here in Quartzite, and she's paying $200 a month for an RV park with full hookup. No, she has to pay for electricity.
Oh, okay.
She gets the sewer water, but she has to pay. It's metered. She pays for electricity. And
Still cheap.
It's still cheap.
Yeah.
Good grief.
So,
And if you pay for the whole year, it's $1,700 for the whole year.
oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
So there are deals out there. You just have to find
Yeah.
them, I guess.
And down here, and they're everywhere. Over towards just east of us, a place called what's that called? Brenda. Little community of Brenda. They have a lot of little RV parks that stay open a long time, and they're real cheap too. So yeah, RV parks are open and they're cheap. You'd think they'd be not, but then and they're not all. There are RV parks here in Quartzite that are $500-600 a month. But if there are a lot of cheap ones too, because there's too many of them. Okay, so yeah, you could come here and spend 3 months and be in pretty darn good shape.
Yeah.
What are Farside? What are some other great places to go besides Quartzite? Seems like everyone goes there, and it is too crowded. I don't think it's too crowded, but yeah, it can get crowded. Where else? Where else around here?
I mean, there's Yuma area. There's a lot of free camping down by Yuma. Also over near Joshua Tree and Borrego Springs. Although some of those areas are getting a little bit less free camping. But there are plenty of areas in the Southwest that are within an hour or two of here. There's some near Tucson and Ajo as well.
Lots.
So you have a lot of opportunities to camp around here, depending on where you want to go. But I would agree that Quartzite, it gets busy during the tent time, the big tent time, but you can also find your solitude here. There are plenty of places that you can go around here that may be 5 or 10 miles outside of town, but also very easy. Oh, also Lake Havasu City and Parker. Those are
Right.
big areas.
Really, just think in terms of the Colorado River.
Oh yeah.
From south at Yuma, lots of camping around Yuma. Lots and lots of great camping. What water camping?
Mhm.
You can go camp right on a lake down at Yuma.
Yep.
And then if you follow the Colorado River up, there are a few wildlife refuges right on the river, and you can camp right on the river. They're in the middle of nowhere,
A little harder to get to too.
and they are hard. There's nothing near there.
Yeah.
I probably won't have internet. But then you go up to Quartzite, which isn't on the river, but it's within 20 miles of the river.
Yeah. I suppose.
And Ehrenberg is right there, literally on the river. You can camp right on the river at Ehrenberg.
A lot less people over there.
And a lot less, well, that main area gets pretty crowded, but a lot of areas that aren't.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Let's go
even
further back.
surprisingly, the river is fairly open.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. A little further north is Parker, and on both sides of the Colorado River in Parker, there's a lot of camping. A little further north of that, Lake Havasu. Further north of that is Laughlin and Boulder City. Not Boulder City. What am I thinking of?
Kingman?
Well, Kingman's quite a ways from the.
Okay.
But tons and tons, and Kingman's a big city. Got a Walmart. I think it's got a Home Depot. Pretty sure it does. Lots of within 50 miles of the Colorado River, you're going to find so much camping, and you've got a river right there.
Yeah.
And of course, then you can go all the way up to Las Vegas, and it's going to be cooler, much colder up there. But man, there's camping all over. Lake Mead,
Yeah.
Lake
that's true.
Powell. You can
Yeah.
Lake Powell. You can go northern Arizona.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Lots of options.
lots of options.
Yeah.
And there are the LTVAs, long-term visitor areas. There's
Are those still 180 every 6 months or something like that?
$180 for 7 months.
7 months.
If you can bear the heat
Yeah. Well, that's true, right?
out of 3 or 4.
But even if you just do it for 4 months,
Yeah.
it's still pretty nice.
$180 for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
And in
They have garbage
Quartzite,
there, right?
they have garbage, they have toilets, and they have dump stations.
Yeah.
So if you're an RVer, $180 to get all of that included in the price this for 7 months, it's phenomenal.
You'll never find rent anywhere else like that.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's the cheapest living you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are several LTVAs by Yuma,
Mhm.
and Algodones is down by Yuma. And then if you head on Interstate 8 towards San Diego, you'll come over to Anza Borrego, California State Park. Tons and tons of gorgeous camping.
Absolutely.
Holtville, there's a Holtville LTVA, and there's a Holtville Hot Springs,
Mhm.
and just 14-day dispersed camping all around it. And then you got Slab City.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Slab
All
City.
you
Yeah.
know, Slab City, lots and lots of camping.
Mhm.
Everyone should go to Slab Cities at least once.
It's quite an experience.
It's quite-
super interesting, and yeah, it's definitely worth checking out.
And and I'm just beginning to talk about the places to camp in Arizona. You mentioned Ajo.
Yep. Tucson.
There's tons of camping all around Tucson, big city.
Phoenix. There's the
Phoenix?
State Land Trust. It's $15 for the year. I believe you're supposed to only do like 14 days at a time, maybe twice a year or something like that. But again, it's one of those things where you can go and get to some beautiful areas just north of Phoenix.
Really close.
Yeah.
Wickenburg. Wickenburg is. I love camping around Wickenburg. Wickenburg is such a cool little cowboy town. They have a big rodeo goes on there. I really like Wickenburg. It's everywhere, and then you got the whole southeast Arizona. You got Tombstone and
Let's go on and on.
On and on. The camping is so unlimited. There will never be a time when there's not enough camping in Arizona.
You're good.
Okay. Okay. Felicia, can you please talk about what winter gear I should carry in my van for bad roads? Do you always carry Max Tracks, or are they worth it to carry around? They take up a lot of space. Thoughts?
I mean, I used to carry chains for my tow behind car. I no longer do that. It's not a bad idea, but for the motorhome, I'm going to avoid those places. If the roads are at all sketchy, I'm just going to sit put. I live in it, so I have my home with me at all times. So if I need to stay put, I will. And I look at the weather forecast, and if I see something's going to get precipitation, it's going to get down to the high 20s or low 30s, I'll probably just like wait on moving for a couple days and just wait till see what happens with that. Wait till it melts. I don't carry any of those things with me. What do you do?
I actually do. I carry Max Tracks.
Okay.
I've got them in the van. I've used
He's
them
better
numerous
prepared
times.
than I am. So
yeah, I've used them numerous times. In Arizona, there's the snow, but I'm like you. I'm a snowbird, and I'm not going to be in the snow unless I've specifically gone there to test cold weather stuff. And I do that as fast as I can, and then I get out.
yeah.
You don't have to be in the cold in Arizona. They just don't. But there's a lot of sand, and in the spring, in a lot of Arizona, there's mud, and so I carry Max Tracks for sand and for mud, not for snow. I can't imagine where I would use them in snow, but I've used them often in both sand and mud, and they are invaluable. So yeah, I carry those. Other things you should have, I think you should carry a tow strap. If you're going to spend much time in where there's sand and mud, there's just no way to get through those. Even four-wheel drives will get stuck in those all the time. Mm-hmm. And so a tow strap, the Max Tracks, don't buy Max Tracks, buy cheap fakes. They're just as good. Well, they're not just as good. Not anywhere near as good, but good enough for $70 versus $300. But Max Tracks, clone Max Tracks, a strap, and I carry you should always carry a compressor, little air compressor, and air down your tires. If you air down your tires, depends on the size of the tire, the size of the vehicle, really low, less than half, that will get you through out of a lot of sand and a lot of mud, just airing down your tires. Then you got to air them back up.
We did that recently down in Baja. We had two rigs that got stuck, Class C, 23-foot Class C, and then also a Sprinter van. And we were trying to figure out, like, Max Tracks, what we're going to do. And then a guy just came by, like, just air down. We're like, oh, yeah. And it honestly, we aired down from 60 down to actually 25, and we just pulled it out of there. Then you have to fill back up and stuff, but right. It was great. It was no problem at all. So that works a lot. Just remember that.
So let's just carry a little cheap compressor, and you can air it right back up. Do not drive on the highway at speed with 25 pounds and 60-pound tires, because you'll destroy your tires.
Yeah. So
don't do that. So that's why you carry a compressor. Okay, I think we did that really well. What time is it? It's almost 4. We got a little time left. Angela, hey, we're doing good.
Yeah.
Well, no one's asked about. All we're getting is let's. Does anybody ask about anything else?
Is it all about heat?
It is.
Yeah.
It's every question has been heat about heat, and so we are warning you about heat cold. And we're both, look at us. We're both wearing heavy. We're best. Although it's kind of really warm.
Yeah.
Right now.
Suddenly I'm like.
Yeah, suddenly it's
the sleeves a little bit.
Yeah, and it is going to do a warm up. But every so often it gets cold in the desert. It's just the way the desert is: hot during the day, cold at night. Well, let's talk about critters. No one's asked about that, but I think that's a lot of people are going to ask about that. So let's address that specifically. Have you ever had any encounters with rattlesnakes?
Not in the desert here. No, I've had some up in the mountains, but
Is that right?
yeah, never. I'm usually gone by the time it gets too hot here.
Right.
I usually vacate. So this time of year, we really don't have much of a fear of it. But when you get into March, April, May, depending on the weather, it can get bad, right?
My rule of thumb is if the snakes are out, it's too hot for me to be here too.
Yeah, time to go.
Time to go.
Key, get out.
That's why I've got a key. I live with a vehicle with a key that I can just turn.
Yep.
If it's so hot, because they're cold-blooded animals and they're not coming in the cold. Well, it might be warm enough now. They would come up to warm up in the sun, but they're very sluggish, and it might get up to 60 today.
Yeah.
They're literally sluggish because their internal body's cold, and so they might come out to warm up, but they're going right back in, and they're not going to worry about you at all. I've never seen one in the winter out here, ever.
No.
Same with scorpions. People are going to ask about scorpions.
I have seen a scorpion in Anza Borrego in, I think, February or March. It was just hiding under my water jug. I had it outside and I picked it up and there's a scorpion. So, but again, as long as you're kind of careful about, I wouldn't reach my hand underneath things immediately. Maybe just kind of shake things out before you put your fingers and digits in there. I think would be a good practice. They apparently have tarantulas here, but I've never seen one. So.
Oh, I've seen a lot of tarantulas, but they're harmless to humans.
Yeah, so
they're scary.
They're scary looking, yeah.
I actually think they're cool looking.
They are actually, yeah.
Really. I would love to get a really good photo of a tarantula close up.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, they're harmless to humans.
Mm-hmm. We do have coyotes out here.
We have a lot of coyotes out here.
So if you have a small dog, you definitely want to be aware of that, or a bit mid-sized dog as well. We hear them hollowing at night, so be aware of that. It's cool to hear them at night.
I love hearing
yipping and yapping, and but yeah, be aware that they are out there. So if you have a small dog or cat or whatever, be aware.
Yeah, they're no risk to you. That's really important that you know that. A lot of people are afraid of that. The coyote's going to come out and try and eat you. I think that's probably happened, but it's just, believe me, it's not something you need to give any thought to. That a coyote is going to harm you. So a lot of other critters. So same with, I've actually run into quite a few rattlesnakes. Quite a few. 8.
Okay.
I've probably run into 6 or 8 rattlesnakes in my time in the desert, and it's usually in the spring. I stayed too long. It got warm enough, the snakes came out, and I should have left, and I did for whatever reason. That's the only time you have to worry about them. And even then, I've had them rattle at me 6, 8 times, and never seen one even thought about striking. But I have run into them, and I'm not worried about rattlesnakes at all. And I don't think you should be either. Yeah. What else? Floods. Have you ever seen a flood?
I have not, but I know that they've happened out here, especially in we camp in washes, right? And
right.
So, but I would think that those happen more in the monsoon season in the summertime. So this time of year we might get a little bit of rain, but it's not the deluge of water that comes upon us. So I have not seen one here in the winter. Have you?
I actually have. I've seen one flood.
What time of year was that?
I actually believe it was in the winter.
Okay.
But it was such a big storm that there were warnings everywhere about this storm coming. Okay. And they said, this is going to be a massive storm. People will die unless you use common sense.
Get out of the washes.
Get out of the washes.
Okay.
And it was actually Steve and I and Charlene.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, this was a long time ago. Oh, there you go. I didn't even think about that. Oh, it's the rig. No, I think it's what?
Oh, it is the rig. You're right. Let's rotate again.
All right, here we go.
We're gonna eventually get the whole panorama.
Yeah, lots of rigs.
So.
We were here. It was about the time of the big tent. The big tent was up, so it was in January. Now that I think about it, and the big tent this was an enormous storm. I mean, once in a century storm, and I think the big tent actually did come down some part of it.
Oh wow!
And a lot of the vendors' tents, there are vendor tents all over Quartzite in the winter, and a bunch of those failed and collapsed under the wind and the rains. And Tyson Wash, on back behind it,
where everybody parks.
Yeah, that was a lake.
Okay.
It was a lake for like 3 or 4 days.
So be aware of the weather app. Look at it and just be prepared. Yeah, and again, if you see rain on the horizon or lots of significant rain, don't park in the washes. Don't, so it is fairly simple to avoid.
It is.
Just go to higher ground because it's going to hit those lowest points.
Well, my rule of thumb is this, and I think you should make this your rule of thumb in the desert. Before you park, look around and find the lowest spot. If you can't find any place lower than you are in grave danger. You do not park there. Just don't park anywhere unless you can see, that's where the water's going to flow.
That's lower over there.
Yes. Right. So the water's going to flow down. It's going to go away. I'm not going to be affected. And if it's all completely flat, well, then there's no risk either because you might get little pools here and there, and you will, but you're not at any risk. It's when the water all flows downhill and accumulates in a place. As long as you aren't in that lowest point, you're going to be okay. So that's just a rule of thumb that if you follow that, it's just not an issue to worry about.
Good idea.
And I've been coming to the desert for 13 years, and I've never seen anything else before then like that. I mean, it was truly a unique experience. Yeah. So, I mean, when the big tent practically fails. Right. All right. So what else should we talk about? We can keep talking about heat. There are a lot of other questions about heat.
Mm-hmm. Any different than the ones we've already answered?
Oh, a little bit. I have a passenger van and has a lot of windows. How do I cover my windows efficiently to let the cold in?
Keep the cold out would be Reflectix. I mean, I think that helps on all your windows, mm-hmm. and I cut them exactly to all my window sizes. So I do that, and then during the day you take them out so that you can get all the sunlight in and kind of heat up the interior, and you bank it that way. But Reflectix is really helpful at night. It makes a significant difference.
Right. Yeah. Very, very, really true. And something else you might try is cardboard. Cardboard, and then glue your in the winter. So glue your Reflectix to the cardboard, and then put that in the window so it seals pretty tight. And the cardboard the corrugation actually has some insulation value.
Yeah, that's true.
That will work. Or if you really want to go all out, if you're going to be in the winter a lot, in the cold a lot, then I would go to Home Depot and buy a 4x8 sheet of styrofoam, and not the white kind, because all the white things that come off on the white styrofoam, I hate that, and it'll always come off forever. But buy the pink or the blue, or polyiso if they have polyiso, and get one with the Reflectix, the silver on one side. Put that towards the inside, and that'll keep you really warm. The styrofoam, an inch of styrofoam will really keep the heat cold out, and the silver on the one side will keep the heat in really, really, really well.
One thing we haven't talked about today is wind.
Oh yeah,
wind can be fierce here. We right on New Year's Eve, maybe the day before or day after, we were hitting 40-mile-an-hour winds out here, gusts of 40 to 50 mile an hour, sustained about 20. If you have a tent or if you have a shade structure, that's probably not going to survive that. So again, look at the weather, see what's coming up, and prepare for that. You might need to hunker down for those days. It can be quite miserable with that kind of wind, especially if you spend a lot of time outside. So windbreaker, wind jacket or whatever, and then maybe just using the vehicle as a windbreak. So if the wind's coming from this direction, put your van in front of you or your car or anything, just to give you a little bit of relief from that wind. And if if you have a pop-up or something like that, be aware of that.
Yeah, I can remember time we were caught in a huge windstorm. This was a long time ago. It seems like the windstorms used to be worse.
Yeah.
Maybe all old people say that. I don't know. I think all old people do say that.
Back when I was a kid. Up the hill both ways.
Yeah. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
But I can remember we had one storm come in, and we were up on a little hill. It was actually over Dome Rock. Gary, in this camp.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He had a pop-up. What are those called? Tent, not a tent, but
like an Easy Up?
Easy Up. He had an Easy Up, exactly. And he didn't take it down. He didn't think he'd have to.
Was it a kite after that? Just goes flying.
It disappeared.
Yeah.
I mean, he came out the next day and it was simply gone. It wasn't. And I'm a big walker, and we would walk in the desert, and I found it at least a mile away. We were up on a little hill. it was at least a mile away, and I went back and told him, "Hey, I found your easy up. Not much left to it, but
No.
it's down there,
Slightly broken.
Yeah,
It's slightly
yeah.
used.
It was, and I've had friends with them, the easy ups especially. You think the easy ups can handle it? They just can't.
They really can't.
Nothing can.
Yeah, I've heard the clams are a little more wind resistant, but even
Yes.
those, they're expensive. But even those, they have limits, so you have to be careful. Besides the wind, another thing, we're sitting in the sun right now.
Right.
So something that we, wear sunscreen, sunglasses, which we're not right now, but a big hat is always very helpful because again, you want to protect yourself from dehydration, from heat stroke, because it can get hot here in the desert, depending on the day. So just be aware of the sun as well.
So let's talk about this the winter season.
Mm-hmm.
People will start coming down in October. They'll be here November, December, January, February, March, April, let's say.
Yeah.
How's that going to look for weather? Let's just go month by month.
Hot, cold, hot.
Yeah.
That's simple.
And day to day, it can be
really
hot,
good.
cold, hot.
Yeah. So October, I think, would probably be a little early to come down to this area.
Usually.
We were in Pahrump for October, and that was pleasant there. I returned to Pahrump in December, and it was cold. It was very cold because that's a much higher elevation. So again, it depends on where you're at, but generally speaking, October is going to be a little hot. November could be really pleasant. Later December, January, you're going to get the coldest part, and then it starts warming up again, I feel.
Generally.
Yeah. So
February can be cold.
can be. So again, just kind of depends. I mean, weather fluctuates, obviously. So, but yeah, it certainly can be. So, but then by March, I'm usually looking to escape. Especially in April, if I'm not out of here, I've been caught down here with a breakdown before, and I got stuck with 95-degree weather in Joshua Tree. It was hard. I would just have to sit in the shade during the day and then work on my rig at night when it started to cool down. It was miserable. Don't recommend it.
Right, and it does seem like a lot of the old patterns that I've known since I've been coming to the desert are changing. The winters, it seems almost colder, and then when October, March, April, they could be hotter, hotter than I've known in the past. So the point being, when you come to the desert, be ready for anything, because you can run into 100-degree days, or you can come and be in 20-degree nights.
Yeah.
So and rain. It rains here. You wouldn't think so, but it definitely rains here.
Not a ton, but it does
No,
occasionally.
but when it does, you'll get wet.
Yeah.
And so 2-3 rains a year, a winter, I would say, generally you can count on.
Yeah.
And when you say rain, it's normally just a sprinkle.
Yeah.
Although it can be more.
But it'll affect your solar. So
It sure will.
so keep that in mind, to always have a backup for that. Or again, if you just bundle up, you can solve so many problems.
And I think the wind varies by place. I think Yuma has some of the most wind. Have you ever thought that?
I don't really put those things together. I honestly I feel like the desert is a desert, and so I have not associated a particular place with more wind. But I feel like other people have said that.
Yeah.
So I believe you.
And I think it might be because your proximity to the Colorado. I think Yuma gets more wind, and I think Ehrenberg gets more wind than Quartzite.
Okay.
And they're only 17 miles apart.
Yeah. So.
Although the Ehrenberg is lower because it's actually down nearly on the river.
And there are mountains between us.
And there are mountains between us.
Yeah.
So I think maybe the river itself creates kind of a wind funnel. Maybe. I don't know that, and it's just I don't have any scientific basis for any of that.
We're just guessing here, guys.
Yeah, spend our lives guessing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I think we've done really good. Is there anything else we should ask?
Looking around, looking for ideas. I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of more for recreational down here, not so much for necessity, but there's a lot of hiking down here. You can road bike, mountain bike, really pleasant walks through the desert. That's how I met Bob, was walking through the desert and dog walks and stuff. So there's a lot of activity. If you have, when you were talking about the Colorado River, if you like being in the water, you have that option. You can go jump in the water there. If you have a inflatable paddleboard or inflatable kayak, or even just a little raft, you can get out in the water. It might be a little cold for that this time of year, but there are lots of opportunities out here to go birding, especially down at the wildlife refuge.
Yes.
If you're into plants, flora, fauna, there's a lot to see out here. So it can be a very enjoyable experience.
Incredibly, there are deer right here in Quartzite. I've actually seen them.
Oh, nice.
I did. Yeah, it's weird. They're very small, tiny deer. I don't know how they survive. What are they drinking? I can't imagine how they survive here, but they do.
Dog dishes that are left out at night for.
I guess. I don't know, but they do. Okay, here's one. I think this is a good question. Where do people go after Quartzite? So it starts to get too hot in Quartzite. Where do we go? So where are you headed? Where would you typically, some options you would head?
Well, a lot of that usually depends on my summer job and where I'm going to go. So I start making a trajectory towards my summer job. So if I'm working in Colorado, maybe I would go through Sedona in southern Utah, because again, you gain a little bit of elevation, and so it starts cooling down. If I'm going over towards California or Oregon, I might head up 395 in that whole quarter. That just is one long slope uphill, and so you can kind of just figure out where the best weather is along that and pick the elevation that makes the most sense. So that's kind of what I would do when it starts getting too hot here. I go to the forest, go to the hills. Flagstaff would probably be really nice.
The problem, and this is the problem we always find, is that the differences are too extreme.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole key here is that every 1,000 feet of elevation you go up, the temperature rises by about 3.5 degrees. So if you go up 10,000 feet, it's literally 35 degrees colder. And so if you go from here to Leadville, Colorado, it's 35 degrees colder. And so if it's 90 here, it'll be 60 there, and probably freezing and snowing at night.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the hard thing. You want to find graduations in elevation. So you mentioned Sedona. It's at like around 3,000 or 4,000.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people go to Sedona because it's 3,000 feet. It's
cooler.
It's quite a bit cooler, but it's not cold. It won't be cold either.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I've gone to Prescott, which is at about 5 or 6.
Okay.
And so I've jumped again another 10 degrees.
Yeah.
It might be 10 degrees warmer there.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I'll jump up to Flagstaff or on to Colorado, Utah, because there's a lot of high country in both Colorado and Utah. You can get up to 10,000 feet and camp there.
It's all about the slow migration, or the
It is.
intentional migration of like, okay, that's too cold where I want to end up, but if I slowly get there over a month period, then you can make these stops that are like, okay, and just find the perfect temperature. That's the great thing about our life, guys. Think about that. We can go anywhere we want, and we can slowly have that great weather all the time.
Right. You got that key, that handy little key.
Yeah, I know. Just my home has wheels. It's great.
Right. I'll tell you a story. I was here March 1st in Quartzite one year, and it hit 95, and which is a little early, but it did.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, it's too hot from here. I'm leaving. I like Pahrump. I've always really liked Pahrump, Nevada. It's just on the other side of Vegas. That's one of the reasons I like it. It has everything I need, lots of camping. People leave you alone for the most part.
Where I met Bob.
Where we met. Yeah, you were there.
Yeah.
And I got there and it snowed. So I left Quartzite and I got to Pahrump and it snowed.
Too soon.
Too soon. But, I had to go because it was like 95 here in Quartzite.
Yeah.
So I tolerated the snow for a little while, and then it turned just right. And then in April, it got hit 95 in Pahrump, and I went up to Mammoth in California, and it snowed again.
Too quick.
And it's at 7,000 feet. So that's the power of elevation. So you want to just watch elevation and go up by a couple thousand feet at a time. And so you just drop the temperatures with every step up in elevation. And that's a lot of opportunities to do that. Another way to go is to Tombstone, to southeast Arizona, which is all at about 3,000 or 4,000 feet. That's a good next step from Quartzite because it's going to be cooler, but not cold.
Mm-hmm.
Although it can be cold.
Yeah, for sure.
It can be cold. You get a cold snap when you get there, and it could be really cold there while it's still really too hot in Quartzite.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's the idea. Or you can go the other way. You can go towards Anza Borrego.
Yeah.
Anza Borrego's not a lot higher.
It's not, but you can also immediately drive right up the mountain, and then you gain like we were great down in Ansburigo. We went to Julian, which has the pie company. They're known for their pies. And it was snowing up there. So it was like, holy Lord. Yeah, so just kind of like you said, you can find those intermediate places to go that you'll get the right elevation. So think of the three, the Three Bears? No.
Right. Goldilocks.
Goldilocks. Thank you.
Goldilocks.
I want my porch just right. Yeah. And so I want my motorhome to be in just right conditions. Right. And that will be it. Another option is the coast.
Yes.
The coast is always kind of cool-ish because of the Pacific and the breezes and stuff. But it's expensive to travel the coast. That's a downside. Gas is expensive, hard to find free camping. So I don't tend to go to the coast very often. But if you have the means, go for it.
Right. California is usually one of your last choices because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
Gas. I don't know what gas would be in Mammoth right now. I bet it's $6.
Probably. I paid $5.50 this summer in Mammoth. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's a tourist town. It's.
Yep. I don't drive a lot in the summer.
No. You're a campground host there.
Yes.
So that's why you were there, and it's gorgeous.
Oh, worth it.
Yeah.
But you ride your bike a lot and you walk a lot and do other stuff. Just don't drive.
Yeah. Okay, I think we've done a good job here.
I think so.
I think we've helped you prepare for the desert. Take all these things to heart, and I think they'll just really help you really know how to do really well camping in the desert. Okay, we got bubbles going. Must be time to quit. Yeah. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, very welcome. And I hope that we see you guys here for the RTR and somewhere in the desert here this winter, because it is a great place to be. We'd love to see your faces out here. It's such a vibrant community out here, so come on out here, guys.
Yep, go and check out the new Cheap RV Living either this week or next. It's going to look completely different and hopefully serve you even better than it ever has before. All right, so we're done. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you got anything out of this live feed, then like us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up button, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.